Hi, thanks for coming down.
Happy to be here.
This feels like I was thinking about how to start it, and I'm so stoked that you're the first person I'm speaking to, because I think one of your many gifts is this ability to just create vision into life. I mean, that's you're a creative director. And I'll be giving the spiel, you'll get a spiel before this thing. And I shared outside earlier that I was like, what the fuck am I doing? How am I going to do, the fact that we're in this room, the fact that there's plants here, the fact that there's chairs, we have cameras, we have this lab, the fact that you're here, all happens so quickly. And I feel like what I'm learning to play with is this idea that creative ideas come through us, and it's our job to steward them how we would see fit. And what I'd love to start with you is, what do I would like to start with you? As this creative director of life that you are, you touched on something outside where you said, what would my 10-year ago version of me, what would I have done? What would I like to know? So I'd like to start there, I think, unless you have another idea of where you'd like to start.
No. Yeah, I mean, thank you for having me. It's an honor. I feel just excited to be back in the city, I think, in this moment, even just to be in this space. And I've been in such a different chapter in this last few years. I went through such an intense period of just like collapsing and unraveling of all of the things that I spent so many years in LA building up. And being in this moment right now, I feel nervous a little bit of, am I still relevant? Is there still something that I can offer? And I was even coming into the space on my way here, I was wondering, like what would be helpful? And it dawned on me that there is a part of myself now that I think could offer some advice to that younger self, the 10-year ago self who rolled into LA with his dream of just creating something and just being a part of this amazing energy of this city. And so I remember being with my friend Dean, who's a photographer, and we just wanted to be on set. Didn't even matter, just wherever we could be on set. And I didn't even know how I was going to get on set. I had this idea that I would just start emailing creative directors and different directors and just asking them if I could just help them as an assistant. And I just remember this desire. And then suddenly fast forward through this last chapter, and there was these moments of being on a set and having this really kind of pinch me moment. But I would say a lot of that time period I took for granted in a huge way. And there was things that I think that I missed because of just the lack of mindfulness and just not being as present as I probably could have been. Being so afraid of what people thought about me has been one of the biggest hindrances, I think, of my life. It's like such a beautiful gift and something that can be so detrimental to you enjoying yourself, whether it's not feeling comfortable to dance at a party or feeling that you need to act a certain way in a mixer, especially these networking events, which run rampant around LA. I always had this perception that I needed to show up to them and put on a show because I really wanted to prove that I had a place at the table and that I was relevant there. And so I would think, okay, well, what are the things that would make me impressive to other people? And so there was a period of time where I had a Vice ring that was gold, and I would rock that thing and I would make sure that people saw it when I was talking. And there was a whole...
Would you do that thing with like the wedding?
Yeah.
Nice.
So there, and I even probably bringing it up in this moment is a little bit of me being nervous. If I'm getting really honest, it's me being a little nervous. And then I want to tell the story about the fact that I was at Vice for 8 years. And so that people that are watching will feel, oh, this guy's not just a kook who's living up in Ojai. He's like and so there is it's this desire to want to establish ourselves as relevant and experienced, and that we have some value to offer. And what I'm realizing, and this is something that I've been thinking about that I'm really excited to talk about, is like that need to prove something is one of the quickest ways to suck energy out of a room. Because if you think about it, one of my favorite quotes in the world that I quote over and over is the Stanley Kubrick quote. And he says that the least effective way to get at someone is directly. And that if you're able to get someone to think a minute about what it is you're trying to get at, then that thrill of discovery goes right to the heart. And I think about that.
So say that again to me. So
yeah, so it's like the least effective way to get at someone is directly. And if you're able to get someone to think a minute about what it is that you're trying to get at, that thrill of discovery can go right to the heart. And I think about that with just the way that we present ourselves as humans in a social environment. So if you're at a mixer, for example, I promise I'll bring this around. But
I'm not also like, I'd be impressed if you do bring this around, because that was like was a perfect train, but I'd be like, I would have lost it already.
So you're at a mixer.
Okay.
It's this networking event. And my old me, 10-year ago me, walks in. How the fuck do I establish myself as quickly as possible as a credible human in this room? And so I'm going around and I maybe I'm flashing the ring, maybe I'm talking about what I've done, what directors I've worked with, this really like this desire to make sure that everyone knows who I am. And if you think about everyone doing that, it's such an energy suck to a space. Imagine having a relationship where all you do is talk about yourself in a friendship. Your friends are going to be exhausted. And so it's this idea of like, what is that push and pull? Like, what energy are you actually bringing into a space is so important to think about. And if you are at a networking event, we think the rules break and that suddenly we just need to plug ourselves to hell. I think that if I had a message for that old self, it was like, chill the fuck out, listen, really learn how to listen to people, look at people in the eyes, be present, breathe, and don't worry about you trying to prove something. The quickest way that you're going to be able to connect with people is through the act of listening, through connection on a human level, share something vulnerable about yourself. I remember leaving those networks events so drained, and it was almost like I just felt exhausted. I felt so de-energized. And what happened was in those moments, I think looking back, all I was doing was just like projecting myself on other people. And where the Stanley Kubrick quote comes along is that this idea of you go into a space, you connect on a human level, which you're a master at. Like you really, the playfulness, the authenticity, the vulnerability, the sharing of like really how you're feeling. I'm nervous in this moment. And suddenly listening to people, asking beautiful questions. And then all of a sudden you've got these connections that are made, that are forged, that leave an emotional imprint on someone. They don't know why. And then they're like, who was that person? You didn't directly pitch them in their face. There's this sort of seed planted of like, who was that person? I felt good with them, subconsciously or consciously. And then they go home, they maybe look on their Instagram, they search your name, they ask someone else about you. And that's that indirect connection that cuts right to the heart. They're basing that like experience on emotional feeling that they had. And those are the forged relationships. And I guarantee you talk to any of these like big business transactions that happen, it starts with like someone trusting someone else because they felt good in their presence. And I think like leaving behind this crazy amount of pitching and hard selling our skills and our thing, let it go.
There's so much that you just shared in there. There was an image that came through of just, you know, those like big slides at a water slide.
Yeah.
And you're going down so fast, and like that is your soul, your spirit, your creative, whatever, that wants to go down the slide. And yet you get a bump on the journey, or there's like a nail sticking out. You don't want, do you think I can swear on this podcast?
I just did 3 times.
Okay, sweet. So you don't want the fucking nail in your butt as you're going down the slide. And then I was just seeing like how all these things that we think we're supposed to give off, and how we're supposed to have the name or the job title or the, it's funny you say that about the thing, because even like with this podcast and even with this whole thing of what I'm doing, I'm still like dropping in James Blake every now and then, and I catch myself because it doesn't feel real. It's like, why am I doing that? Like, do I not trust what I'm doing right now? So there's that. It was just like, you know, this idea of how what we're supposed to give off, this impression that we're supposed to give off, is almost like those are the nails along this slide. We want to like go, but there are all these things that like get in the way, and they're actually, and they're not letting it. Maybe there's a better analogy than that. But thank you. I also, the other thing that's come through, I was like, oh yeah, I could just invite in a lot of people to make me feel really good. And you do, like the authenticity and the honesty. I think that was something that was very attractive to me in the conversation, like when we met, however we met a couple of years ago. This idea of, you're walking into this network event and like trying to give off I was like, can I punch out these words? Because what will people think if I can't even get a out? It's funny, right? This idea of what people think of us is the biggest fear. That what people think of me is my biggest fear. And it's this work to just get that the fuck out, because it is so crippling. But I think our whole design has told us we need to care so much what people think. And the irony is that, as you said, like when we're caring so much about what other people think, it sucks the energy out of the room. I like that. It like sucks. The authenticity is so magnetic.
Yeah, it's interesting, the dance between using, for example, the name like James Blake and that experience it's a pivotal moment for the whole collective. And it was sort of a way that you prove relevancy a lot of times is who you're associated with. And it shows you're playing the game at maybe a higher level, that these people that are also at this high level trust you as a creator and a holder of space. And so I understand the use of that. I will say that like, it is definitely important to think about how you use it. And maybe let's just try on two ways of presenting that idea. Okay, so you're in a conversation and you say, yeah, so James Blake was a guest on the show, or we did an event with James Blake. And you talk about him in a way that feels that you're just taking up space with this sudden plug about James Blake and then looking for a reaction from someone. Validation. There's another way to look at it where it's really checking in with yourself for a second before you share something. And you're thinking, okay, what is the most honest way that I can convey this? And here's an example. I, in this moment, feel the need to somehow justify this project because it's so new and I feel so humbled by this space, etc. And I am thinking of this experience of James Blake coming and how much I was so proud of that and how much it moved me as a human to have that sort of presence in the room and what I gained from it. And it was such a beautiful experience. And I feel this need to share it, partially for probably validation and because of how much it meant to me in that moment and how exciting it was to have somebody who's so magnificent on the stage. There's kind of like a dance between almost this experience of what I felt as a human and how excited I was about it. And I think that you do it really well, but just to use like the name plug to just fill like a block in the space feels very different. Yeah. It's like you sharing always from that authentic self. And that example is a bit weird and long-winded, but I think you get the idea.
Yeah. And it's funny. It's just like this, maybe authentic self is just this idea of, I think that's the powerhouse, and I think you came from these two careers at, Vice and MUD WTR, where you held like these really cool, like, I think when I met you the first time, I remember doing a walkthrough of the MUD building, and I think you were in one of the offices upstairs, and I was like, can I be honest? I thought you were really cool, like in like a he's going to be a dick kind of way. And then I later came to know you. I was like, oh my God, this is the most lovely human ever. And cool in my version of cool, what I think like I really value. And, you came from that world, as did I, and I still am in many ways, where I'm pitching businesses and, my income is kind of related to that because, how earning money as a recruiter and growing businesses, it's like, well, what have you done before? It's this, I think we've just collectively created this idea of what we're supposed to do in order to succeed. And if I look at how this has all come together, the fact that we're in this building, which just gave you a tour of, and it's just like, everything just feels electric. And in the last couple of weeks, like all these things have just unfolded so quickly for this creative idea of wanting to have these conversations in a really honest and authentic kind of way. It's happened effortlessly, rather than me thinking, oh, it needs to look a certain way. Like I didn't have the time because it happened so quickly to think like, oh, this is the point of this podcast. This is the point of like, I need to get XYZ people in to give off this impression of like, blah. And so I think it's really funny that it's like, I don't think it's funny. I think it's amazing that you're the first person I have in, because I said to you walking the door, I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing here. And I think that's the magic and the beauty of none of us know what we're doing here.
Yeah, you are transparent about it in such a beautiful way. I think your Trojan horse through this whole entire industry is like this authenticity about kind of your humility and wonder in it all. Like you are in the wonder of this experience and you verbalize it. I can't believe I'm here. Look at all these amazing people. Wow, how lucky am I? Look at this room. What an amazing place to come from. Imagine if you move through life in this way all the time. It's this idea that I don't deserve any of this and I deserve all of this. It's the exact same sort of feeling of like, how am I so lucky to be able to be in this room? And honestly, in the years of me being in LA and being in the mix and Billie Eilish coming through the Vice building and like normalizing this surreal experiences of meeting my heroes and like being around so many creative people, I became numb to it because our bodies and our minds, our defense mechanism is to normalize everything, whether you're in a concentration camp or a freaking refugee camp. Like your body and your mind is able to actually normalize these situations and be able to survive. It's like our survival mechanism in such a huge way. And so it works in ways that you hear stories all the time, like Man's Search for Meaning, talking about how they're able to find solidity and like peace in a situation that's so insane. And if you think about it, that actual skill that our body has and our mind has applies to good as well. It normalizes good in the same way. People that have these crazy houses, insane jobs, your body is literally a defense mechanism, is to normalize everything. And so no matter what, at some point in your life, you will have something that you've normalized that is your younger self's wildest dream. And so I think that is like the sort of this way that we as humans forget that we think that there's these goals that are going to get to us to a point where everything's going to be different after that. It won't. It'll be different for a bit, but your body will normalize it. It is just the human nature.
Do you how does that make you feel, the fact that, you know, you had all these big things happening and you became numb to it?
Well, I think that it feels sad to me because I think I missed a lot of it. And maybe this sense of coming into this space with this new humility of being in this chapter of isolation in so many ways. I would say that I'm in this least, you know, outside glamorous or, you know, outward perspective glamour that I've ever had. And I feel sort of irrelevant in some ways. This, you know, I'm drawing these little drawings that the algorithm is fucking me lately and won't share them with the rest of my friends on Instagram.
I love them so much.
But those
for the audience, because this feels weird to say that because it's so fun. They're comics. They're like beautiful poetic comics of like how you're navigating mold and your sex life and your like whatever weird other shit happening. And it's so, the power of it is the truth and the authenticity. Like when I was doing sorry, I cut you off, but hopefully you can remember the point and we can come back to it. But when I was doing the pitch for this series, I put next to your name I had like topics for other people, like as an idea of what we were going to talk about. But next to your name, I put all the things that we're thinking, but we're too afraid to say. And what I love about you is that you're saying them, you're drawing comics to them. And I'm like, yes. I love it. Come back.
Vulnerability has been sort of become the new punk rock for me.
Yeah.
It feels like the edge, you know, it's like, if I just talk about this wild shit that no one would ever talk about, you know, it feels counterculture and kind of like, oh, fuck the system, let's go. But I guess to bring back this point of this humility moment that I'm in and this tiny me doodling at the table and being up in Ojai even and just feeling really sort of vulnerable in this moment, walking into this space and not expecting there to be cameras here or even how beautiful this space would be. was really such a special moment. It was me as a little boy. And I even went into the bathroom and had this moment where I was in there thinking, wow, this is so cool. I got to like connect with my young self again.
In the bathroom?
Just
now?
Yeah.
In the cubicle next door?
In this space, though, you know, in this space, I'm coming at it through with these eyes that haven't been inundated with so much stimulation and so much of this world. And so I'm actually seeing how special this is, even getting to meet your friend just now and, you know, being around young people who are excited and inspired. And the question I asked her was, how are you staying that way after being in the city for 20 years? Because I became so jaded and so just, I took everything for granted. It was just became kind of, you know, what the fuck is the point? Like, why do I need to hustle? Why do I need to, you know, you get onto a huge set. It's not like you feel different inside. There's definitely this moment where you're excited, but a lot of times my favorite part of the entire shoot was talking with the intern in the car, in the van on the way to the shoot, or like the connections I had with the camera guy while we're, you know, setting up the new thing, or these little moments. It's I think a lot of times we get so swept in this idea, the big thing, and it's like you miss all this little tiny moments that a lot of the time are just as special. Talking with you guys this morning, that could be the best part of my day.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe the moment in the cubicle was, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I had this experience, which I talk about going back to, it's all perception, you know, it's all the perception. And, you know, I speak to so many, I'm very lucky to have a lot of wise spiritual people in my life. And they say the same thing. It's being able to appreciate the little things. And I lived in London on this street called Abbeville Road in 2015, 2016. Super depressed and just very not happy with my life. And that eventually led me to hand in my notice. And then next thing, my CEO turned around and said, hey, how do you feel about moving out to LA? So a couple of years ago, a friend was living on the same road and I went to see them and visit them. And I saw, like I was outside where I used to live on this street, which it was suddenly like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Look at that building and look at these trees and It was exactly the same street. Literally nothing had changed. It was the same buildings. It was the same, all the things. But my perception of it was like, oh my God, look how magical this is. And, you know, I think the more people I speak to who are on this journey of appreciating life, it's like, it's not these big things that we think are the be all and end all. We spend our life chasing for, like, I'm chasing the relationship or the money or the fame or the music or the job or the whatever. Whereas actually, like, this plant brings me so much joy. I'm like, when I brought it into my house like a couple of months ago, it was so small and I'm like, oh, it's grown so much. And it's the little things, you know?
And our younger selves hearing this would be super annoyed.
Would they?
Yeah.
Go on, explain that.
Because you have to discover it on your own, and someone saying, oh, you chasing that money or that career isn't going to be the thing that you find wholeness with. Your mom's not going to love you more if you
she's not
if you direct that movie.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that is like, sometimes that inner desire is like love from our parents or from others, or just appreciation and feeling of that we have a place here on this earth. And I think you kind of have to discover it on your own. I don't think you can hear someone prescribe this and say, oh, okay, you're right, I'll just forget all the dreams and just go at it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I have this, and am I gonna go down the God thing? I'm just asking myself that for a minute. Yeah, it's a big part of my life, so I can say that, and I say that as someone who, if you said 5 or 6 years ago, God or faith or spirituality, I would have thought you're crazy. So I'll speak from my experience. But this idea that anyone else could have given me a relationship with a higher power, or a spiritual relationship with God or whatever, I realized that was the lie. And so this idea that anyone else can tell me, that can fix me or save me or make me better or like take this pain from me, we're totally outsourcing. So yeah, I totally agree. Like this perspective and this appreciation, nobody could give this to me. Nobody could tell me. I had to find this by myself.
No job, no amount of money.
Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think even the simplest, I, I feel like with me and a connection to spirit, it's very abstract still for me. I believe in the idea and I believe in so many parts of it. And I'm almost the Fisher Price, my first spirituality book is like kind of it's almost it's the very first. I'm in the beginning stages.
I was like, is there a Fisher Price spirituality book?
No, but there should be.
Wait, this is so funny because you know what? Okay, sorry. I'll pin the point. Do you want to come back?
No, go for it. I got you.
So again, I'm asking myself, is this the name dropping thing? But you know what? This is part of the fun. But in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be interviewing Shabnam. And she is the co-founder of Soul Pancake.
Oh, wow.
And so I saw her, she was posting some stuff on LinkedIn like a year, at some point, time is weird. And I really resonated with it. And I reached out to her and we connected and a few months ago. And anyway, so I invited her to be on this podcast. And so she messaged me last week and she said, hey, could we do this podcast? So she speaks around, the power of joy, harnessing the power of joy. She does all these keynote speeches. But she co-wrote this book with Rainn Wilson, which is, if I remember the title, The Tools for Spiritual Growth. And the end goal for this whole series is really equipping people with the tools, not necessarily with, for spiritual growth, but that is part of this, mind, body, soul, wrap up of how do you, what's the toolbox that got me from the place of not being able to see the beauty on that street to loving my life and loving the small bits. What was that journey? What was that toolbox? Because I think that is available for everyone.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think it's really funny that you say the Fisher Price version of spirituality, because that's something that we're going to be doing on this series. And so she said, can we tie in this podcast released in October, November with the release of that book?
Incredible.
And I was like, what?
Well, it is, I mean, in a way, it's the cart before the horse, because I think, I don't even know actually if that expression means, but it's this idea that we also, there's steps before getting to that point of maybe connection to spirit or whatever that is.
Yeah.
I'm back at the beginning, and I'm in this state of just spending my morning for the first hour just trying to sit still and feel my breath, and then just focus on generating a little tiny bit of the emotion that I want to feel that day every morning. Just sitting and just thinking, okay, I want to feel connected and loved. And so I sit and just think about, imagine myself feeling connected and loved, and have some guided meditations. I've been, going through some really intense health stuff that is pretty spooky. Like if you could hear my breath right now, like
I'm gonna get too close. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's like what I've been doing in my chest.
Sample it.
Let's put it on loop. It's a reverb. But I've been dealing with this for a year, of this kind of like lung scarring, this wheezing, loss of smell, 10 years of really intense ailment. And I feel like it's all connected, where I just exhausted myself and I just burnt the candle to the point where I didn't have the calm or the mental stability to really heal, let alone appreciate my life and be present in it. And so I'm back at the beginning of this tiny exercise of just imagining this way I want to feel and letting my body return to some sort of homeostasis of calm and peace, even hearing the lungs going crackling, even knowing that potentially I don't know what this ailment is all about. It's such an intense thing that I think could potentially lead me in a direction that would be even more harmful to my body and my mind. And so I'm trying to catch it at this moment of like, okay, how can I really be more conscious with the way that I start my day, so that I'm able to feel some of these emotions that I want to feel. And even if I don't ever heal fully from this, if I'm able to feel safe and loved in this first moment of the day, there feels like that's like a tiny connection to what you're talking about, but it's the very beginning.
Oh, I
You know?
totally. Your thing just buzzed. I'm borrowing your watch, so I can.
Okay.
And it said move.
Oh, yeah.
So what do I need to do to kind of?
Yeah.
Is it going to keep buzzing me?
I don't
Okay,
know.
we're good for time. Yeah, I mean, it's so. It sounds so, especially in Venice, and especially, I don't know, the wellness culture that is obviously blowing up. I think we're all chasing for this answer of what's going to make us feel better. And the simplicity of that, of sitting with yourself for the first moments of the day, like that, when I started doing that, and I can't say I do that religiously, but I try and do that 9 times out of 10 during the week, it makes a difference. It's just, how can I start my day with 10 minutes of meditation and prayer and knowing it's not my day, and how can I be of service, rather than, I try and do that before I turn on my phone. I didn't do that this morning, but it's just, these tools that are available, they're not sexy, but they work,
Yeah.
and people have been doing it for a long time. And if you think about it today, like I look outside this window, I was saying the outside world, but I'm looking outside this window, I see a naked woman statue in trees, and it's actually pretty gorgeous outside. But this world is insane right now. And it's never, I don't want to say it's never been more insane, but it kind of hasn't, like the last 6 months with AI, the last year or so, and just like the infiltration of that and this information overwhelm all these social platforms, we're losing our mind. And it's so much easier to get trapped into all these wormholes of other people's things and technology and calendars and all this stuff. And so, what you just described is like the most foundational practice of how do you keep sane in this chaotic world?
Totally. Even with the acts of service you mentioned, that's something I'm out of practice with. I have a partner who's really incredible at this, and she remembers how much of a gift it is to be in service, and it takes practice. I think for those of us who maybe our instinct isn't to just be giving or to think how we can contribute, there's nothing wrong with us. It's just that it takes practice. It just takes.
I would challenge that. I think you're very, like, the interactions that I've had with you, you're very giving in terms of you're so giving.
Yeah, maybe it's just finding. Yeah, well, it's nice to hear. I think it's really just checking in with. Sometimes we don't want to be generous, and sometimes we don't want to help people, and there's this feeling of, well, I got to get mine first, or I'm not even able to eat. How am I supposed to help you eat? And I think
fear.
And as you know, the minute that I tend to let that go, and it can be uncomfortable. Like I said, it's reps. It's literally doing bench press. Sometimes it's really not fun, but you do it, and there's a result. You feel better. Always.
There's something you said earlier around, going to this networking event, and how I kind of saw that image of you of just trying to put on this facade was fear. We have all these fears of what will people think. And I'm curious, you talked about this journey that you've been on. You obviously had some health stuff. You left the corporate world 22 years ago? 2020?
2 years ago, probably.
And then you started freelancing, and then you've been on this this journey of, realizing, I don't know, the joy and the love in life.
Yeah.
Whether that's true or not. But how would that transition away from, that fearful mindset, what do you think has kind of helped that process for you?
Well, I think about the angst that I had through the last 20 years of my professional career. There's this feeling that there was always something bigger, like I needed to prove or do something that would make me feel relevant. And I remember the feeling of posting on Instagram when I was at a big shoot, and then going back home to Montana and people saying, wow, you're really doing it out there. You're really crushing it. It was a good feeling. But then it was, what's the next thing that's going to give me that fix of someone acknowledging that I'm a good human or I'm successful. And so there was this really intense, exhausting treadmill of trying to constantly stay relevant. And especially with your feed, it's like, you scroll back and then it's suddenly, oh, this was from a while back, and there's nothing that I've posted recently that shows how good of a human I am or how cool I am.
You're going on your feed. There's nothing here. You look like shit.
And in a way, I'm still on the horse the whole time. I fall off so heavily, like getting fired from MUD WTR, telling people that I'd been laid off, but I got fired. It was the first moment that my career castle crumbled. And it was so humbling and so debilitating to the point where I felt like I'd been punched in the gut and I lost all my wind. I felt so small. And it almost had been like I'd built up to this point where I was going to have this climactic moment of being a creative god on the cover of Forbes. And it was this moment of realizing, like, even if you end up on the cover of Forbes, you're going to feel exactly how you feel right now. Ultimately, there's nothing that's going to change. And it was this realization that there's no external thing that is going to change who I am inside. There's just none. Yes, for maybe a moment, but it won't. And that feeling and that realization, if you're on the horse and you're just like crushing it and everyone's like, wow, you're doing so good, you're never going to have that moment. You have to fall off of it. You have to be on the ground, because in that moment is when we find this sort of humility and realization and perspective away from being in the race. And so I think getting laid off and then getting fired.
That's the first time that I didn't know that.
Yeah,
because that's what you told me.
I know, and it feels weird to even say that. And I just lied to you right now. I just said getting laid off again.
Yeah,
getting fired.
When did you start saying that differently?
I think it's the first time I've said it publicly just now. So
it's fine. No one's listening.
Well, I mean, Shane said like on the contract it said laid off, but we knew that wasn't the case. Anyway,
can I ask you the details around that or no?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Shane said to me something later that felt really nice to hear, and I think summarized it in a way. Was he said, you're like the Michael Jordan of creativity and creative directing. And it's like when Michael Jordan went to play baseball, like you were in a role where you were trying to do performance marketing and run a CPG company creative. And you just keep trying to come up with these amazing creative ideas that are so out of the box and so cutting edge. And we just need you to sell MUD WTR. Like, what's going on here? And so, because we were in a moment where there was some money that needed to be obviously paid back to investors, and it was a bit more of a pressure moment. And I'm sitting there pitching very abstract, strange ideas of a mushroom forager in the forest, and Shane's thinking in his head, well, I think this isn't necessarily the best fit, and you're expensive at this moment. So it was but to hear that was really, really intense. And that moment started this whole portal that I've been in. And I guess like the point of this is, you've got to be on the ground, and I had to be on the ground to really have this perspective. And it almost feels as though at this chapter that I am getting to refine and reestablish myself and figure out what is it that is going to be something that I can be truly myself in, like truly authentic in. And instead of how do I prove that I'm worthy of this experience or of this chapter. And so I think that is like probably the biggest shift at this moment. And it's a loop, I'm sure as things start to build, you sort of have to reevaluate where we are. But I mean, my goal at this point is to be able to lead with my heart in some way so deeply. And because I really believe that we have this specific code, each of us, right? And it's so unique to us, this strange combination of living on the street, being depressed, Tom passing, this whole collective, your music, the vulnerability, the radical transparency, your hair. Like, this is a combination. This is a combination of these things, and it's the specific code that's so strange and so beautiful that it is like, it's the imprint that you at your most authentic self can make on the world is going to be much greater if you are truly yourself.
It's like I just saw the slide coming down. It's like, I want to go down the slide fast.
Yeah.
To show, why to show? Like I come back to what's the why, that whole, you start with your why kind of thing. But yeah, it's this code.
Kid.
to be a kid. It's funny when you were talking
Right?
about the creative play in here, like that was what Sarah was saying is to make this a creative playground, because when we're our kids, we are playful and creative, and we have these all, and we don't think it's weird. Like, we don't think it's weird to create a mushroom foraging.
Aren't we kids in a way? Like,
We are.
I mean, I can't help but think about someone who is providing for their family, who's working construction 6 days a week, sending money back to El Salvador. Like, if I told that person this, or if I mean, I think that's where I get into like sort of a strange thing where I'm saying, okay, this feels true for us, but is this some sort of privileged, conceited point of view that like isn't realistic? Because isn't there instances where we just need to grind, and like then it goes back to meaning in a way, right? It's almost like, what is the meaning?
What's the why? What's the meaning for being alive?
That you connect to it. I get stuck here, and obviously, like, forgive me for maybe running us in circles, but I feel like,
yeah.
Well, I guess I'm trying to figure out. It's our search for meaning that allows us to move through these different chapters of our life, right?
I mean, it's kind of, this feels like a cool circle moment, because I asked myself, like, what is the point of Whole Collective? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And I was writing this morning, and the journey for me personally is to live a life in service to joy. The more I do that, the more it's filled with connection. And, I feel so, it's actually Tom's anniversary tomorrow, which is, timing of wise, just feels very, it's been 6 years. And I wrote a piece this week where I was just saying, and I don't know, should I say anything? Because actually, people listening, are people going to be listening to this? I don't know. Anyway, Tom died 6 years ago tomorrow. And, the last few years just felt so weighted in grief and this not the victim story, but throughout it all, I was just following this breadcrumb trail of wanting to kill myself to now loving my life so much. Like, I have so much joy in my life. And I was sharing with friends recently. I have 2 couple friends who live within 2 blocks of me. One of them's just had a 9-month-old baby. Hi, Rowan. Coolest baby I've ever seen. And on a Friday night at 5 p.m, Courtney texts us and said, hey, you guys around for dinner? And an hour later, we're all having dinner. And it was the impromptu and in the backyard. And I said, this is the feeling that I have longed for forever. This sense of belonging, and not with just these guys, but I have my recovery community and friends in my life. And I have a home, which is simple, but I love. I have work that I'm doing that is recruiting, but I'm good at it and it pays me. And I'm recording music, and everything feels very, very simple. I don't have the relationship with this man that I think is out there. I don't have a lot of money in the bank, really, at all. I don't own a home. I don't have the body that I think I'm supposed to have. I don't have all these things. And yet the joy that I have for what is here right now makes me so grateful to be alive. And so then I think about this, what am I doing here? That feeling of being so grateful to be alive doesn't make me want to not be here. And that's my ultimate mission. But all that has come from following this breadcrumb trail of like, okay, well, I didn't know who put the breadcrumb. I didn't know how. I didn't know there was going to be a recording studio down the road, that suddenly you walk in, everyone, and they have, this perfect room for us, and they have the cameras, and there's having a mic, and it's all professional. Like, it felt like it just happened. It's in the same way that it felt like the James Blake event happened. There was a conversation with you, the event before. It was just this journey of, I don't know what I'm doing, but this is where my higher power, universe, spirit, God memo, and maybe this is just the 95-year-old version of me that is putting the things in place for me now. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that's available for everyone, talking about this code, this blueprint of this is what I'm doing right now. And you have your own code and your own blueprint of what you're doing, as does everyone. And when we're not listening to that and not following that code or blueprint, we're depressed. We don't like being alive.
Thanks for sharing all that. Yeah.
Like, does that make any sense? I don't know.
Yeah. It's interesting because I believe that everything is essentially an up and down, or a shadow and darkness, right? Or shadow and light. So
it's all shadow and darkness.
Yes. Yeah. There's always, I mean, they're always like the brighter the light, the deeper the shadow a lot of times. Like life is always going to be this movement through this terrain. And there's a very good chance that things will get very hard, and it's never forever, and everything is changing always. And I really just believe that there's going to be moments where it's so hard. My Monday was so weird. I had the weirdest Monday. It was like,
Okay.
I don't know. I just
Do you
woke
want to
up.
share about it?
Yeah, I just woke up so sad. And I felt, what is the point of this? And I felt tired, and my lungs were crackling. And yeah, I just remember thinking, if I can just get through this morning, and just try to be kind to people on the Zoom calls, try to smile, hold my cat for a bit, make like a little bit of food for Carrie. It just felt, all I can do is just, the only control I have in this moment is how I'm treating maybe a few of the things around me. And just keep telling myself, it's going to pass, it's going to pass. I have no idea why this feeling was there. The more that I tried to analyze it, the more that it started to feel all encompassing, and I started to worry that maybe I'm doing life wrong. The minute that I started to just breathe and like control what I could control, it's almost like that angst about something's wrong starts to dissipate. And it's just like, I just feel shitty, but this is going to pass. And just, what can I do to just kind of move through this? Like, even if I got to lay on the ground with a pillow, whatever.
Yeah.
Sitting there in that moment of just feeling, I can't meditate, I can't drop in. And by 1 p.m., it starts to lift like a little bit. I have this moment of going for a walk, and, I can see the mountains, and for a second, I feel a little bit of lightness come in, and my heart doesn't feel as heavy. And it's like, if I would have told you at a networking event about that day, that is like, literally, what do I have to contribute? You would think this guy is just off his rocker. He's like some emo kid in the corner. But the less that I like focus on what I need to like do in this world, and the more I just focused on just each step and like breathing and these like little moments, and less worried about like what is the story, like what's the point, all that shit.
What will people think?
It's just like, it starts to loosen this grip, and things start to lift a little bit, and it's like, I'm okay. I don't need to do anything. People aren't expecting anything from me. I'm like, what is relevancy? I think it's this feeling in this moment of, if I let go of that, I start to notice the mountains a little bit, or I start to notice how beautiful someone's voice is at the gas station. Like, I don't know. I think it's this essence of, for me, getting out of this like feeling that I need to do something in order to feel okay.
Self-obsession.
Yeah.
It's the obsession that we are everything. Well, we are everything, but I guess maybe that's not the right way of saying it. But, in terms of the simplicity, like I'm also going to try and make a conscious effort to stop saying like the whole time, because I've really become Californian in that. It's the simple stuff. I've had, friends call me in crisis, and I say to them, turn off your phone sometimes, put your phone down, go for a walk, go make yourself a meal, go have a bath, sit.
Yeah.
Just sit and do nothing.
Yeah.
For 5-10 minutes, set a timer. And I have that, and that's, that's my own, that's my toolbox now. If I'm in my head, which I am a lot, I set a timer for 7 minutes, and it's like,
yeah,
sit and do nothing.
It's beautiful, because
it's so simple, and we think it's this rocket science that's supposed to, and that's, I have a challenge with the term mental health, and I guess how I'm trying to pitch this series is the antidote to mental health, because I think it's really, we're just disconnected from this way of being, and it's almost implied like you having those feelings and an experience, there's something wrong with you that needs to be fixed. But the reality is that we're just human having these. I have those points all the time, and now I move through them of like, oh yeah, this is what's happening. Cool. Today's just a simple day. I'm going for a walk. There's nothing that's expected of me today, and I get through it. And I don't go to the extremes of what I maybe once would have done, which would be getting high or having suicidal thoughts or like, getting to that real extreme place, because it's a practice of having these tools where we're like, oh yeah, I'm human.
I feels like in this moment, if I could convey what I hope people would take away even from this little moment of this conversation, it's this idea that letting go a little bit of this goal and this idea of how we should be can be really freeing, in the sense that I'm thinking about one example specifically of my comics where someone said to me, these are really good, you should make a book. The minute I started thinking about the book, it started to become so frustrating, and the magic was gone. I was doing these comics thinking, this isn't good enough for the book, or this one definitely wouldn't make the book, or wow, how am I going to get published if I don't have comics that create a full range of the emotion? And suddenly it's this way that I'm moving through LA, right? It's remembering that feeling of like, how do I do the thing that's going to make the thing? In the comics, it's like, how do I make the book that's going to impress the world? The minute that I said, fuck the book, and I just sit and I have an emotion that comes up, the feeling of being sad because my mom hasn't been able to travel as much as I have. And I sense it when she gets these Christmas cards in the mail, they make her sad because maybe she hasn't been able to do as much traveling in her life. And I deal with this emotion. And so I start to draw on it. And as I'm drawing my mom, I have tears coming in my eyes. And there's this like moment of like tingles through my whole back as I'm drawing this like silly comic about my mom not being able to travel and the guilt that I have around it. And in that moment, it's like magic. That's God. That's, to me, it's like connected to, it's like the emotion that I have, even retelling the story, I have chills through my back. It's like this feeling of I'm like so present and so in touch with my emotions so deeply that nothing else matters. The fucking book doesn't matter. And that's where the magic comes, And so I think in general, like the takeaway is forget about the fucking book. Just focus on these little drawings, like these little moments, and there's going to be times where we can't, where we're so sad or we're so clouded, and that's okay. Just like one step, know that it won't be forever. And there will be a moment where you can focus on the little drawings again in your life. And I think that is, and I love also the conversation around goal setting, because I think this is fascinating part of this whole thing. It's like, how do you set a goal while also...
I don't know how I feel about the vision stuff, because like for so long I was chasing these goals. I was chasing being a musician, having money, having the relationship and all this stuff. And I get the power of vision boards, and I do. And I have so many journals that I've written about. The thing that I always refer to is the house that I'm living in right now. I have a bathtub which has a skylight, so when I'm in the bath I can see clouds and the trees, because a daylight bath is the epitome of crap. But I've written about that in my journals, and I have these letters that I write to future self, and I have that. But then I had this experience beginning of the year where I wasn't sure if my visa was going to come through, and it just got approved. Yes. And I was just like, what if I just gave up everything? Giving up living in LA, giving up the music dream, giving up everything. And it was so freeing. And so I think this whole manifestation culture that we live in, which is having the thing, I think that's kind of counterproductive, because I think without the thing, we think we're not doing it right.
100%.
And it's like, and I think that's what we're marketed, and that's what we're sold is. And I love all these woo-woo stuff and manifestation stuff. But I think the minute that I attach that it's supposed to be a certain outcome, I can never have imagined that this is where I was supposed to record, or that actually a series of conversations was going to be the next thing. And it was almost like the grip loosened on of what was supposed to happen in my life. And I was like, okay, if I'm supposed to go back to London, okay, I don't know what's there. And then now all these things are like, music producers have arrived, this place has arrived, the conversation with you has arrived. And I'm trying to not control who, yes, there's an element of who I want on the podcast, but it's really, I look at people in my life who I've had really interesting conversations around. I'm like, oh, that's it.
Well, in a way, you're noticing the small details of your life and realizing their magnificence, right? You are focusing on these things that you already have as the creation components. And I
like that.
I love the idea of goal setting. However, instead of goals that are so concrete, focusing on the emotion that you want to feel, the feeling you want to have with that goal. So for example, if you wanted to run an agency and be in the mix with a bunch of people, it's the feeling of connection. It's the feeling of feeling safe, of feeling appreciated. You could sit and imagine those feelings, and those are your beacons, and that's your North Star. Because if you're constantly thinking about having the agency, that's very specific, and you could miss all the good shit in the middle. And so you're focused on, oh, well, it's not the agency yet. You know, this is cool, but it's not the agency yet. Forget that. Focus on the emotion.
That's what you were saying earlier. It's like we're missing out all the things that's there. And, you know, I think actually this relates to both of us for the work. I had this idea of what being in a company and having a regular paycheck was supposed to give me.
Yeah.
And that feeling with this pressure, because I was in a sales job, you have numbers on the wall that you have to hit. The feeling that gave me was I did not like. And I can actually only really say that retrospectively. And now what I've been working towards, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this feeling of working for myself, I do want the financial stability of recurring income, but I want the autonomy and the freedom of owning my own time and getting to choose what kind of clients I work with. I want the freedom, and I want the freedom and the safety simultaneously. And so then this journey of the breadcrumbs and following this is like, cool, I keep holding that vision of like, I want financial stability and I want the freedom to live every day how I want. And I want the freedom, I want the feeling of connection in the day. That's what I want to do. I want to do the work that I love doing. And that's my anchor point.
Yeah.
And now everything else is kind of aligning to that. And I had no idea what that was supposed to look like.
Even financial stability, I would argue, like, unpack that deeper. It's the feeling of security or...
Well, it's a good one because actually I have, you know, speaking to people who have millions in the bank and people who have zero, the feeling of financial stability has nothing to do with the money.
No.
That's what I've learned.
Yeah.
And for me, that's where I bring God in. I had this big epiphany moment beginning of this year was, oh, I've always been taken care of. I don't think God had got me in this department, but if I look at everything, I'm taken care of.
Yeah.
And so I do trust that even when there was a point when I had $12 in my account and that the fear of the money stuff was like, I'm going to die. And that fear got relieved from me. So now even when the bank account hopefully doesn't hit that low again, because thanks, I'm not asking for that. That fear won't be the same.
Yeah.
And now that I found that sense of safety, because the safety wasn't in the bank account, it was in the trust that I'm going to be okay regardless.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the sense, I guess. And so when I was writing about financial stability a couple of years ago, I was writing it from a place of, yeah, cool, when I've got millions in the bank. But actually what I found was I found this financial stability, but in the sense of peace rather than the money.
Oh.
God, that feels like a mic drop.
That's beautiful.
I wanted to ask you.
Yeah. What time are we right now?
We hit an hour. How long do we think these conversations? I think an hour is good.
I think like probably an hour. I was gonna maybe take like a really quick restroom break because I drank so many cups of water. Yeah, would that be okay? And then we'll just finish out. Or should we just finish out now?
I reckon. I think an hour. Well, I don't want you to like suffer.
What's that?
I don't want you to be in pain.
No, that's good.
You sure?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I was gonna ask your opinion because I think what would be really cool is to have 3 questions.
Yeah.
That I ask.
Yeah.
Every guest.
Beautiful.
And so one of the ones that came to mind was I wanted to get to this idea of hope.
Maybe let's restart the 3 questions.
Well, I don't know what the questions are, so I was
Oh.
going to ask you what the questions would be. So I haven't, but I think one of them should be around this idea of hope. So I guess, are you hopeful? Like, in this world of chaos.
I'm so hopeful.
Okay.
I'm so hopeful.
Why? What's your reason for being hopeful today?
I saw something on Instagram. There was an interview with this guy on a trail somewhere in Arizona. He was, I think, in Zion or something. There's this old man. He had this like floppy hat, white beard, sort of scraggly looking dude he's a trail guy. And this dude interviews him for his podcast channel or whatever, this Instagram thing. And he asked him if he's hopeful. And his response was so beautiful. He said, get off your phone, get off your computer, go out in the world and just witness how amazing people are. Witness how amazing people are to each other. Witness the kindness. Online, shit is weird. People make the weirdest comments. They shit talk each other. There's no ownership or accountability. They just bail. They'll say something like, fuck your mother, and then leave. It's like no one's doing that in real life. It's so rare that you have negative interactions and people that are mean to each other in real life. Like, I think our ultimate desire as humans is to be kind. And yes, I'm watching the shit that's going on overseas, kids getting killed, and that is terrible. And it's been happening since the beginning of time. And there will be times when this is happening. And I believe that there will be light for that place again someday. And I think we are in a situation where we, for one, have so much to celebrate, and there's so much progression. The idea of whether it's like the percentage of mixed race couples in the world right now and the acceptance of that is so beautiful. I think there is so much progression that was been made. And if you get off your phone and your computer and you get out in the world, people are kind and it's a beautiful world. And I just believe that the world's going to be okay. The planet's going to be okay. She's going to heal herself. I don't know how long we'll stick around for, but like ultimately in this moment, yeah, I'm so hopeful. And I believe in sort of this choice that we have that is either I choose to be an optimist, because what other choice do I have? I don't really want to inundate my body with stress of pessimism. I don't want to go through my day with the impact. Our body doesn't know the difference between our mind and what's actually happening. It thinks we're at war if we think we're at war all the time. And so my choice in these moments is to be optimistic and to believe that things are good and just and that we will be okay. Yeah.
That's a mic drop. That was cool. I've got a choice tattoo. That was one of Tom's things. It's like, it's all a choice. Everything's choice, And
sometimes we can't make choices because we're so in it, but know that you'll be able to make a choice again.
And that's the thing that we only have any choice over is our attitude. And those are another two. So
maybe how we treat other people sometimes.
Yeah. I
think that's a choice a lot of times. Maybe not in that direct moment, but there's a way to amend and there's a way to apologize and to come, I think, yeah, I feel really hopeful in this moment. And thank you so much for this. This is special. I hope it's helpful.
No, this is so great. I also don't need to have two more questions. That was like the one question of just like, I want to hear what's your hope for the world,
Beautiful.
And thank you so much for coming in. This is just, I don't know where this is going, and that's kind of part of the fun and the magic, but I just know that, this for me was just cool. I get to hang out with a friend and have conversations that I love. Thank you.
That's your beacon. And I think that's all we can do. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Love you, friend.
Love you too.
Clap.